Night settles over the plain of Dura like a held breath, the kind that presses against the chest and refuses release. Torches tremble in the wind, and the vast image of gold catches their light, towering, mute, unblinking. It is a god fashioned by imperial hands, polished to command obedience, and around it gathers the machinery of empire, governors, magistrates, soldiers, musicians waiting for the signal that will turn sound into submission. Somewhere within this ordered mass stand 3 young men, exiles by decree, carried far from Jerusalem, carrying Jerusalem still within them. They are known now by foreign names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, labels stamped by Babylon. Yet their hearts answer to another call, older than empire, older than gold. The king has spoken, and his word is law. When the music rises, every knee must bend, every forehead must touch the dust. It seems simple, even reasonable, to a world that measures loyalty by posture. No sword is drawn yet, no flame kindled, only the soft coercion of expectation. To refuse would be to fracture the smooth surface of order, to remind Babylon that power is never complete. The 3 feel that pressure like heat before a fire, a warning written on the skin. They remember stories whispered in captivity, of Sinai thunder and covenant fire, of a God who asked not for fear, but for faith. As the musicians lift their instruments, memory and moment collide. The plain is crowded, yet the space within the 3 grows still, as if time itself pauses to watch. They know the cost. They have seen furnaces before, belching smoke for brick and weapon, devouring what is fed to them. They also know the commandment etched deeper than law, forbidding the worship of what human hands can melt and remake. This is not defiance born of pride, it is fidelity born of belonging. The gold image glows brighter as the first note hangs in the air, and the night waits to see whether faith can stand when the whole world kneels. Above them, stars witness the scene with ancient patience, silent as the promises made to Abraham beneath similar skies. The empire believes this moment belongs to it alone, yet history leans forward, sensing a verdict not written by kings. And the breath held over Dura deepens. The music swells, a cascade of sound designed to sweep hesitation away. One by one, bodies bend, robes brush the dust, and the plain becomes a single gesture of obedience. Only 3 figures remain upright, small fractures in a vast pattern. The difference is immediate, dangerous. Eyes turn, whispers travel faster than law, and accusation finds its voice among officials eager to prove loyalty. The king's image demands unanimity. Dissent cannot be allowed to stand, even briefly, without consequence. They are seized not with violence at first, but with formality, as if procedure itself might correct the error. Brought before Nebuchadnezzar, they face a man accustomed to command, a ruler whose will has redrawn maps and shattered walls. His question carries both threat and opportunity. Surely this is a misunderstanding. Surely they will bow when the music sounds again. Mercy is offered, but it is a mercy shaped like compromise, asking them to divide their allegiance, to give a gesture to gold while keeping faith hidden. In that charged silence, the 3 answer without spectacle. Their words are steady, unadorned, refusing the language of bargaining. They speak of a God who can deliver, and of a faith that does not depend on rescue to remain true. It is a moment of astonishing freedom. The king holds their lives, yet he cannot reach the place where their decision is made. Power presses in from every side, but conscience stands unmoved, a quiet refusal that unsettles the room more than shouting ever could. Anger rises in Nebuchadnezzar like a sudden storm. The measured ruler vanishes, replaced by a man affronted, his authority challenged by captives who will not perform obedience. He orders the furnace heated beyond measure, a spectacle meant to erase doubt. The command is excessive, almost frantic, as if intensity could compensate for uncertainty. Soldiers rush to obey, feeding the fire until it roars, until the air itself seems to recoil. The 3 are bound, not stripped of dignity but wrapped in it, their garments intact, their faith unyielding, as they are led toward a heat that now feels inevitable. The furnace mouth glows like a horizon at dawn, promising not light but erasure, and the crowd senses that something irreversible has been set in motion. No one speaks, Fear has found its voice. Bound and propelled forward, the three feel the furnace's breath before they see its depths. The heat lashes outward, indiscriminate, punishing even those who serve the king's will. Soldiers stagger, their strength undone by the very fire meant to display power, and they fall, consumed by the excess they enforced. It is a grim irony, witnessed by all. Obedience has not shielded them. The path of violence devours its own. The three are hurled into the blaze, and for an instant the world seems to end in flame. Babylon expects screams, a swift confirmation of dominance, yet something defies expectation. The fire does not roar louder in triumph. Instead, it becomes strangely contained, as if restrained by an unseen boundary. Inside the furnace, the air shifts. The bonds that held wrists and ankles weaken and fall away, undone not by struggle, but by a gentler force. Pain does not arrive as promised. Fear loosens its grip, replaced by a presence that is felt before it is understood. Nebuchadnezzar rises from his seat, his confidence fractured. He peers into the furnace, counting and recounting, his voice betraying astonishment. Not three, but four figures move within the fire, unbound, unharmed, their steps unhurried. The fourth is unlike the others, bearing a likeness that unsettles language, radiant without consuming, authoritative without threat. The king's empire has no category for this. Power stands exposed as incomplete, confronted by a mystery it cannot command. The furnace, meant to erase, becomes a threshold. Flames curl like walls, but within them there is space, movement, even communion. The three walk as free men in a place designed for annihilation, their faith no longer a private conviction, but a public reality. The crowd watches, suspended between terror and awe. What was meant as a warning has become a question, echoing across the plain. If fire cannot destroy fidelity, what can? In the heat, time stretches, each heartbeat deliberate, each breath an act of trust. The presence among them does not speak, yet communicates safety more clearly than words. A nearness that recalls ancient deliverances and hints at a future not yet named. The flames seem to listen, bending around what they cannot claim, as if creation itself recognizes its true Lord. And the watching world holds still now. The king's astonishment turns slowly into fear, then into something like reverence, though he does not yet have words for it. He approaches the furnace's opening, calling out not with commands, but with caution, naming the three by titles he once denied them. The fire remains fierce, yet it no longer appears sovereign. The men step forward, emerging intact, their faces unscorched, their hair untouched, the smell of smoke absent from their clothes. The crowd exhales as one, confronted by a miracle that refuses to stay private. Nebuchadnezzar responds as rulers often do when challenged by truth. He acknowledges the power he cannot defeat, yet seeks to contain it within his own narrative. He praises their God, issues decrees, and elevates the faithful within the system that tried to destroy them. It is progress, but incomplete. The empire adapts, learning to accommodate holiness without surrendering control. The tension does not vanish. It deepens, settling into the uneasy coexistence of faith and authority. For the three, survival is not the end of the trial. They have been seen, marked by an encounter that separates them from easy anonymity. Their fidelity has public consequences, inviting both honor and resentment. The memory of heat lingers, not as trauma but as testimony, a reminder that deliverance did not arrive by escape, but by presence. God did not remove the fire, he entered it. Across the plain, conversations shift. Some mock, others wonder. A few begin to question the gods they have served without thought. The furnace stands as a monument to a failed certainty, its ashes whispering that power is not absolute. Yet the world does not change overnight. Idols remain, empires endure, and the faithful must continue to live within structures that misunderstand them. The story refuses a simple ending, insisting instead on patience. The three return to their duties, carrying within them a quiet fire of another kind. They have walked where fear was meant to rule and found companionship instead. That knowledge alters how they see every command, every threat. The conflict has moved inward now, from spectacle to endurance, asking whether faith can remain steady when miracles fade and life resumes its ordinary demands. It is a harder victory, quieter, but no less demanding. And it has only begun now. Word of the deliverance spreads beyond Dura, carried by traders and officials, reshaped by fear and wonder. For Nebuchadnezzar, the night does not end with praise alone. Sleep flees, replaced by the unsettling awareness that his throne rests beneath a higher judgment. The furnace has exposed a fault line running through every empire, the assumption that power defines reality. He has seen reality resist. In the heart of the story stands the fourth figure, the presence that walked amid flame. The king names it as best he can, grasping for language at the edge of comprehension. For later generations, the image will deepen, read in light of a God who enters history not as conqueror, but as companion. Fire, once a symbol of destruction, reveals another vocation: to purify, to illuminate, to testify. The climax is not the survival of three men, but the unveiling of a God who refuses to remain distant. The furnace becomes a meeting place between heaven and earth, a sanctuary without walls. In that moment, covenant faith shows its strength, not by escaping suffering, but by transforming it from within. The empire witnesses what it cannot replicate: authority expressed as self-giving presence. The spectacle intended to terrify becomes an epiphany that humbles. As the crowd disperses, something irreversible has occurred. Fear has lost its monopoly. The memory of walking freely in fire lodges in the collective imagination, a challenge to every future demand for false worship. The climax lingers not as noise, but as silence, a silence heavy with meaning. The God who was with them in the furnace remains with his people beyond it, accompanying them into uncertain tomorrows. The night air cools, but the true heat of the story endures. What was revealed cannot be unseen. The empire continues, yet it carries a wound, a reminder that there are loyalties it cannot command and lives it cannot finally claim. This is the turning point, where terror yields to truth and spectacle bows before mystery, altering the course of every witness. The furnace stands open, emptied of its purpose, while meaning pours out unchecked. History takes note, and faith breathes. The night remembers this hour forever. It will be told again and again, until courage finds new flames to face and refuses to kneel. In the days that follow, order resumes its familiar rhythms. Decrees are filed, duties assigned, and the machinery of empire grinds on. Yet beneath the routine, a change persists, subtle but real. The memory of the furnace has entered the bloodstream of Babylon, a story told in lowered voices, altering how power is perceived. The three men move through corridors and councils with the same humility as before, but they are no longer invisible. Their faith has been tested publicly and found unbroken. Nebuchadnezzar's acknowledgement of their God marks a shift, though not a conversion in the fullest sense. He recognizes limits, and that recognition restrains him, if only briefly. History will show his understanding to be partial, his allegiance divided. Still, even partial truth can disrupt tyranny. The resolution here is not triumph, but space, a breathing room carved out by fidelity, where conscience can survive within constraint. For the faithful community in exile, the story becomes sustenance. It is repeated not as legend, but as assurance that God's presence is not confined to holy places or favorable conditions. The furnace stands alongside the Red Sea and the lion's den, forming a lineage of deliverance that speaks across generations. Each retelling strengthens resolve, teaching that obedience to God may lead into fire, but never into abandonment. Life continues with its ordinary trials, quieter than flames, yet persistent. The three return to work, to prayer, to waiting. Their victory is not a change of regime, but a deepened trust. The fire has clarified what cannot be surrendered. In that clarity lies peace, not the absence of threat, but the presence of purpose. As seasons turn, the gold image remains, but it has lost something essential: its claim to ultimate loyalty. The resolution settles into this truth, steady and enduring. Empires rise and fall, but faith, once tested and refined, carries forward, resilient, luminous, and quietly transformative. It is a resolution without spectacle, earned through endurance rather than applause, shaping souls more than headlines. Such endings are truer, and they last. They prepare the faithful for what comes next. The furnace has taught them how to walk forward, unafraid, into uncertain days. And the story rests, complete. Yet its echo continues to guide those who remember, faithfully, in silence and resolve. The story exhales here, not into forgetfulness but into memory, where it waits for those who need it most. The furnace on the plain of Dura becomes a mirror held up to every age, reflecting the choices that define us when pressure mounts. We recognize ourselves in the crowd, in the officials, in the king, and, if we dare, in the three who stood. The narrative does not accuse, it invites recognition. Faith in the furnace is not reserved for ancient heroes. It appears wherever conscience confronts demand, wherever loyalty to God costs something real. The presence in the fire assures that no trial is faced alone, that God's nearness is not a reward for success, but a companion in risk. Catholic memory hears in this story the echo of later flames and later witnesses, of saints who walked into danger upheld by the same promise of presence. The lesson is quiet and demanding. Fidelity does not guarantee deliverance from suffering, but it does promise meaning within it. Fire refines or destroys depending on what is offered to it. When faith is offered, it emerges clarified, capable of illuminating others. This is how history becomes sacrament, an outward sign bearing inward grace. For modern listeners, the furnace may look different. The heat of compromise, the threat of exclusion, the slow burn of fear. Yet the invitation remains unchanged. Stand, not in defiance, but in belonging. Trust, not in outcomes, but in the God who enters outcomes with us. The ancient night speaks still, steady, and sure. As the story settles, it leaves behind a posture rather than a command. Remember, remain, and walk forward without bowing to what cannot save. In that posture, faith finds its freedom. May the God who walked in the fire walk with us now, through whatever flames await, until fear loosens and trust takes its place. This remembrance is the final gift, carrying the story into lived obedience. It asks for patience, courage, and hope, held together in love. Such faith does not shout, it endures. And in enduring, it witnesses. Tonight, and every night thereafter. The furnace fades, but faith remains. So may it be for us. Amen. In quiet resolve and trust, now and always, until the end, with God present, ever near.